What is up, YouTube? Just having fun out here in the garage. We got the XLCH back on the lift, slowly jamming away. Didn't do any long form content on this one, but essentially oil lines. This one runs a little bit up and over more than I want it to, but aesthetically I don't really care all that much because it's gonna run. Hooked this up to the oil filter. I haven't fired this bike yet or anything, so it's all done, but now I have the oil filter plumbed into the bike for break-in. I was gonna say screw it and just run it dry. Oh, well, not dry with oil, but run it dry without you wasting a filter on the initial break-in, because that oil's not gonna be in there that long. But we got that hooked up. I pulled the Bendix carb off because one drive in the Midwest, this was almost a polished finish before driving it to the back grease show on the back of a trailer. So not even riding it, just one day out in the salt water of the Midwest roads, and then we wonder why our cars always rust out. Well, near polished finish when I took this out of the chemical cleaner. Now it is completely oxidized and coated in crap. Whatever. I need to take this apart again to pull the accelerator pump anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. That's not final done, and I think the throttle bracket actually mounts to one of the bolts on the intake anyway. I don't know. I'm new to Bendixes. If you know for sure how a Bendix with the throttle cable hook up, let me know in the comments just so I kind of know what I'm getting into. I would appreciate that. Other than that, fuel lines are loose. Oil lines are finally done. All the plumbing is done, minus the fuel line. That's just going to be a little bridge here. I don't know if I'm going to put a filter in or not. If I got room and can make a smooth bend nice enough where it's not going to kink, we'll run a fuel filter. If not, it's a brand new tank. It was plugged and masked before blasting and coating, so that should be okay. But oil lines are done. Kicker cover had to come off in order to do that, so I pulled these two bolts, pulled the kicker and the spring. That is all done and finalized now. So we could pour some oil in here, but I'm going to save all the fluids for the last final assembly. And then if you're super observant, you noticed generator's off. The generator's off because one, I never wired it up, and two, if you take a look at the generator currently, this is what I pulled out of the bike. It was running and working, but we don't have a washer here. Sportsters usually have a big oil splasher and a big washer on the end. I don't have any of that, so I have the parts. We're going to disassemble this, set this up for a Sporty instead of for a Big Twin. Big Twin, you do not need the big washer, but on a Sportster you do. So we're going to fix that. That's going to go back in. That's a quick and easy one. Then finish up the wiring, and we'll be back when we are all done with the rest of that. Tomorrow will be a points ignition, how to set that up and time everything proper, and how to set up a Big Twin generator. Might split that into two separate ones. I don't think the generator is going to take that long. It's basically missing a oil splasher and a washer. That's pretty quick. Points as well. I got a nice red timing mark on my crank already, so it's just a matter of lining that up. And we got to replace the little plug. This looks super nice and finished. It's not. It's loosey-goosey. This has been retapped for an oversize, so I have the tool for that. If I need to clean up the threads at all, we'll grease up the tap like crazy, retap it, and then throw the oil, re-grease it up like crazy, run the tap through, and then drop the new oversized plug in. Like I said, it's already been oversized. This is a standard size plug. It doesn't fit well. It works-ish, but I wouldn't want to run it that way indefinitely. Key stuff is all working. The only wiring that we have left on this bike is the generator wire to the mechanical regulator. It's just kind of floating back here. And on the mechanical ones, it's actually a little bit nicer. I just posted that video for the blue Sportster with a solid state aftermarket regulator, not rectifier, but an actual regulator for the generator. The only issue you run into on those is there's a million different versions. I went off the Excel wiring diagram on the first one. Excel uses the same colors, red, green, and orange. That was not correct for my application. If I ran it that way, I don't know if I messed anything up or roasted the regulator, but it didn't work. It wasn't charging, generator light kept coming on. Now, generator light stays off, My voltmeter is still kind of on the fritz. I used it for the truck the other day. It was okay under solid loads. It was not so good with anything under voltage, but it worked in terms of doing a quick diag on the truck. It's just, I don't know if it's the regulator or if it's the actual bike. I'm really leaning towards the bike being broken on the blue Sporty. I don't know. We'll figure that one out together. But generator, fluids, carburetor, throttle cable, and points, ignition stuff, timing. That's expected. Everything else should be pretty much good to go. And then we got a bunch of bolts we still got to snug down. I got to tighten down the riser clamps, which takes a whopping 2 minutes. All the easy stuff up front. I still want to put some washers underneath the axle caps. It's torqued down, but it's not proper. I would like some washers there. Front mini drum is not hooked up because I can't find the right size shoes yet. But other than that, we're getting really close. All the fender bolts are loose right now. Started taking this apart because we have that sissy bar to put on. So I fabbed up the brackets, rewelded it, coated it. That sissy bar is going to go back on this bike when we are all done. And that's where we're going to kind of leave this one off. This is the preemptive. I'm finally back to jamming on this. It's up on the lift just when we have time. But the missus decided that it is now beginning of spring, so staying in the dock. Her wonderful project. It's going to look great, but that's where we're at. So I'll keep you guys updated as I get time to get out here and wrench on stuff. Truck is fixed-ish. I just got the new headlight switch in. I just got to swap the actual headlight switch, then put the decorative bezels and stuff back on. The problem I was running into on that one, I got everything working, but the bezel switch, the bolt that threads into the center of the bezel, one, I squared off the crap out of the center section. Don't care about that. The outside section with the threads is too worn out to actually thread into the switch, so it stripped out the new switch bracket. Should be all good with the new switch. Wires should swap pretty quickly, so I don't know if I'm going to film anything on that, but that's coming first. Once the truck is done. Drove it to work today. Ran perfect. Then it's time to finalize this thing, and then we got the Honda CB350 wheels back, so that's coming right down the pipeline super quick. Just ordered tires and rim strips. Those should be here tomorrow or the next day. We are going to be full speed ahead on the Honda, and hopefully get rid of some of these Sporties and move on to the next bigger and better thing. Catch you guys soon. 351, new motor, sitting over here. Got the cars kind of flip-flopped-ish. Can't wait to get the Volvo parked and have the Falcon sitting there. And we're in full summer mode, but this is just a weird Midwest weather where it's super warm this week, back down to the 50s next week. So I'm keeping the Volvo for a little bit longer. Who knows, might snow the week after. But, generators, Ironhead. This is the generator that came off of the bike. Works perfectly fine, was charging. I'm missing the washer and the oil splasher. So we're gonna go through and set this up the right way for a Sportster on a big twin. If you're used to shovel heads and big twin stuff, I don't know, pan heads, shovel heads, any of the early style generators, the oil washer, deflector, whatever, oil splasher, whatever it may be, you don't need it. On this, you do. So we're gonna fix that real quick. I have one oil deflector. Ooh, this one says big twin on it. That might not actually be the one that, oh yeah, XL. So the early XLs had this big one at the base. Don't know if I'm gonna use that one or not, but I 100% need this washer. This washer will take the place of this little washer here. So we're gonna go from there. I think I'm just going to throw this one on, slap it in, and call it a day. Because this is not a 69 motor, therefore I should be good. It's like a 71, 72 motor. Like I said, this is a Franken bike. I've been listing it as a 72. The frame's a 72 as far as my knowledge and understanding of Sportster frame differences goes. If it's not, let me know in the comments and I'll rechange every title for all 60 videos on this stupid bike. But I'll do it if it's wrong. But as far as I'm aware, obviously the motor is stamped as a 69. This is not a 69, 100% not a 69, but it is a 900, so I'm guessing it's like a 71 motor in a 72 frame. And the rest of it doesn't really matter because it's a crusty chopper that I got for 600 bucks. So, back to the generator. let me turn you guys around. We'll get this set up. We're gonna rip this nut off, take this washer out. This washer is gonna go on here, re-jam the nut down, and then throw this generator right back in the bike, and we should be good to go on the charging system, other than the wiring that I've been putting off for quite a while, because I don't know why. I'm just slowly losing motivation. I started playing with car stuff. So let's get after it. We got a 1/2 inch bolt, which makes that what, a 5/16 if I remember correctly. Let me find my driver here. Put it in my other drill. That was foolish. Whoops. Couldn't find my impact earlier because Dottie's working on the deck. So I grabbed the regular drill to put the motor mount bolts and the engine stand. Oh well. So now, got a 1/2 inch socket on the generator. This is gonna suck. Alright. Let's get weird. Need something to hold the generator in place. So we're gonna try it this way. I don't recommend doing it this way, but whatever. Shouldn't be on there that tight, and I'm not pulling the entire gear drive assembly off. So this one actually does still have that lower oil splasher that I was talking about is on the bottom of this. So that's fine. I'm not going to replace that. But what I am going to replace is this little washer. Big twins will run the little washer. Sportsters need the big one. So I'm just going to swap these out real quick. Lock nut. Brake clean and Loctite this thing, because I don't want that coming off ever. So this is the problem when you clean the garage. You lose all of your things. So I'm going to grab some thread Loctite, because I don't want that coming off. And that's an excessive amount. I didn't realize that the Loctite was actually all loaded up down at the bottom of that. But more Loctite means less falling off, right? Impact took it off, so an impact should be fine putting it back on. Good enough for me. I'm not a perfectionist. So now I'm going to set you guys up over here on the generator side. Now let's go around to the other side. How's that? If we come around over here, I'm going to be standing right in front of you. Oh well. It's as good as it gets. I already had the gasket on here. I glued it to the case already, so I'm going to recycle this. If it ends up leaking, I'll swap out the generator gasket at a later date. As of right now, I don't really care. But the connections, your field and your armature, are going to go towards the left side of the bike. So we're just going to lift this up. Now we're going to have to shake this washer around, or kind of cock the generator when it goes back in. Cock it around like so. Get it around the idler gear. Line that up. And now I'm going to go to the other side. So this is where it's going to get a little goofy from the filming side. I got to go to that side and put the 2 bolts in. You guys can come with. Let's try that. Let's see. I'll walk you through how I do this from this side. Give you the wrenching wrecked view. First you want to close your toolbox drawers so you have room to get to stuff. Then we got these long bolts. I'm not going to Loctite these yet, but what I like to do is start the top one first. So right now the generator's over, the washer is over the gear, everything's sitting where it's supposed to, but now we have a nice little gap right here. So jam the bolt in. That's pretty lined up right now. But if I take a little bit of tension off of the actual generator, and I'm going to do that by lifting it over here, we'll just lift this up and get this bolt started. Once you get the one started, the other one's going to be... Can't believe there's mosquitoes out already, sorry. This one's getting started here, so now that one's kind of in. Then we'll drop the lower bolt in. And that's the easier of the two. This will slide in here. Again, just kind of hold the generator, put a little bit of pressure on it, just to get the thread started. It's not hard to strip these out. You do not want to strip these out. So, start them by hand first. I cannot stress that fact enough. But those are kind of going now. I'll swap this out. Take our 1/2 inch off from the drive gear bolt. And you do want to support the other side of this. But we're just doing a quick snug on here. I do have the extension set up. So I'll lift this up. I'll drive the bottom in first. Then we'll wiggle this out. Then go back to the top. Electric impact, so it's not crazy torque. I would not do this with an air impact or anything that has any strength to it. This is probably 35 pounds on the high end guesstimate. One of these days I'll get around to torquing those values and figure out exactly what that does, but for that, now the generator's fully installed. The only thing I need to do is wire up the connection. So like I said, I am running a mechanical regulator on this one, which is going to change everything a little bit in terms of the last video on this stupid blue bike that I jumped, put enough charge in, but I'm running a solid state aftermarket Chinese crap regulator. I hooked it all up. It was working fine and charging. I know the first video I just posted that I think you guys are going to see tomorrow. I don't know when tomorrow is in your time, but the last video I posted on the regulator install, it was not working proper and my voltmeter was taking a crap on me, all sorts of variables. But I came out the next day, retested everything. This bike is not charging properly. I got it to work when it charges properly, but now it's draining the battery when I turn it off, which means I think I flip-flop those connections. There is a continuity test. I believe it should send voltage one way and not backwards. I don't know how good that voltage regulator is. It is a brand new one, but it is one of the cheapest ones I could find. Get what you pay for, right? So, anyways, back to the XLCH. The regulator is installed. We have a field terminal. This is the ground side. We have an armature terminal, which is the hot side. These, I gotta run the wires, and I haven't figured out or laid out how I'm gonna do this, but these two posts need to run back up to this regulator, mechanical regulator on this one. It's bulky, it's big, but for an earlier style bike, I think that's period correct. I think it looks better. The cycle electric ones are honestly my favorite, or the generator end cap ones where the regulator is integrated into this. I think it's the cleanest look you're ever going to get. You get your generator can stay the same, but instead of this setup with the brushes and stuff, your regulator actually sits right here. That's what I ran on my chopper. That's what I'll run on the new chopper. Cycle electric stuff's expensive. If it's a bike you're keeping, I recommend it strongly. I did have one cycle electric generator crap out on me. Generator and regulator. One in my entire life. But overall, I think it's the cleanest look. It keeps all of the wiring super condensed up to the front. You don't have to worry about fishing wires back up over and around the frame to mount it into this. You can also move the location of these. A lot of guys will run the mechanical ones right up front too. This is how it was when I got it. I'm going to keep it that way. I don't mind having a little bit of extra wires on this bike because it's not a stripped down chopper. Again, how much do you want to spend? How much time do you want to spend doing everything? But that's where we're at. So I'm going to leave the regulator hooked up now. I'm not going to do the wiring right now. The only other things we have left is some bolt tightening. I have all the hardware for the triple tree, so I'm more telling you guys this, so when I edit this, I make my own list. I need a pinch bolt in the triple tree. I need to tighten down the handlebars. I need to hook up the throttle cable bracket on the Bendix. I need to re-clean the Bendix, put the new accelerator pump in, and then everything else. I got a mirror. I don't know if I'm going to run this on the chopper or this bike, but all of the other odds and ends are sitting in here. So the triple tree bolts and the last little bits of hardware and parts are here, and that's pretty much that. So generators installed. Points will be a completely separate video, as I said I think in the last video, but I'm rambling, so we're gonna end this here, just about there, not too far away from starting this. There's just a million other things going on, and this is no longer a top priority. Maybe I'll have this done for Memorial Day-ish. My buddy's doing a ride locally. I'll post some info on that and try and promote it on the channel. If anybody's in the Midwest and wants to come out, it's a good time. Choppers, hot rods, whatever it may be. It's basically going not too far of a ride, but We're going from Rolling Meadows in Illinois up to, I think, Antioch for lunch at Chopper's Bar and Grill, and then we're going to Great Lakes Dragway. So maybe I'll take the Chalk. It's faster than the Falcon. I don't know. Who knows? We'll figure that out later on. I'll post the info for that if anybody's around local. I'd love you guys to come out, hang out, whatever it may be. But that's where we're leaving off with this video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of those other fun things. We are trying to hit 1,000 so I can post the store and get some of the shirt designs and things like that posted. We'll catch you guys on the next one when we get around to doing the points and timing this thing.